This is the pipe that we're going to use to make our axle for the Muller, and I want to put it in the lathe and clean off this end and this end, because I've got to turn the inside and I got to put it in my steady rest, and so I need something smooth to be able to hold on to. So I'm going to put it in there, and I made this plug that I can put in the end to get it centered. And I just took one of the muffins that when we pour aluminum, you know, I pour the extra up in a muffin tin. So I just took one of these muffins and used it to make this. So I'm just going to put this on here. There's a little bit of where the weld is there. So I think if I just hit that, yeah, that gives us a pretty good, get it centered in there pretty well. Okay, so we'll take this to the lathe. I've got it loaded in the lathe, got our plug in here, and a live center. Just tighten the chuck up. And we'll clean this off. That's as far as I can go. My carriage is getting ready to run into the edge of my chuck. So we'll flip it around. That's got it flipped around. Set us back to the same diameter. Alright, that's pretty good. We got a little bit of an offset. I'm sure this didn't get put in exactly the same as the other, but it doesn't really matter. That's not really critical. Alright, I'm going to get some of this rust cleaned up and get the tailstock off and get set up with the steady rest. Got the steady rest on here, and I'm just getting it dialed in. Alright, that's got me within 1,000. Hitting these where they just touch. Let's see about taking a cut here. Alright, let me swing you around. There's a shot of the progress so far. It's got a really nice finish in there. I'm pleased with that. We've got to turn this down. I've got to put a sleeve in there because the interior diameter, the ID of this pipe is actually too big for our bearing. So I'm turning this down so that I've got a step that I can put a sleeve into, and then the bearing cup will press into that sleeve. So I'm just going to continue to work this down until we get to the right dimension. This is the final pass, After we get this done, then I'll flip it around. I'll do the exact same thing to the other side, and then we'll look at pressing in the that sleeve. I'm truing up this edge so it'll be considered to this bore, and that way when I flip it around, it should also help me get that other end lined up correctly. I didn't like the finish that carbide was giving me, so I put my high-speed steel back in there and it's giving me a much better finish. Alright, I've got a sleeve pressed in here, and this is actually a bronze bearing out of a piece of equipment that I scrapped years ago, and it just happened to be the right size. So I've pressed it in there, and now I'm just going to trim it off, and then I'm going to bore it to the right size for our bearing. This is the cup to our roller bearing that we're going to be putting in there, or it's a taper bearing. And I think that's going to go right in there. So this end is done. I wish I had done the other end this same way and gone ahead and put it in there and then turned it down, but I'm going to flip it around now, put a sleeve in the other side, and get it to the correct size. This is the other end. I put a sleeve in here that I made out of a piece of pipe, and I'm getting it down to its final dimensions. Alright, it's to size. I'm going to deburr this edge right here. Looks like that'll press right in there. Should have a 1000 press fit. Our axle is coming along. I've got the race driven in here that comes with the bearing, the other half of that, so that now our bearings will sit in. And the way I did that was I just stood it straight up, you know, like that, and I put the race on there. Then I took this block and set it on top, and then hit it with a heavy hammer. Just lightly tapped it till I got it lined up. Drove it flat. And then I took this, remember that muffin that we turned to put in the end when we were turning it on the lathe the first time? I just took that and I set it on top. Set it on top like that. Well, let's see. Set it on top like that. And then hit it with the hammer. And drove them down to the recess that we had down in here. So, we've got that on both ends. Now we can put our bearing in there. So the next thing we need to do is measure this and see how long that axle rod needs to be that goes down through there. Alright, I've never really done anything this long before, so what I'm going to do is just use my tape measure here. Get a kind of a rough idea. I had a very rough idea. Let's see. Where did you go? Okay, well, it looks like it's about a 1/16 shy. Yeah, it's a 1/16 shy of 18 inches. Alright, so we need to do some thinking about what this is going to look like. I'll get that drawn out and we'll come back. I'm getting started on the axle, and this is a piece of 1-inch steel that I'm going to make it out of. And I've got it chucked in here. It's about 25 inches long up in there. I'm going to get the end cleaned off and get a pilot in the end, and then we'll start turning it down. Got the end cleaned off. Got a center hole drilled for our live center. As you can see, this is a pretty rough piece. We'll get it cleaned up. Alright, we'll get started down here at the far end. off rust. I got to be kind of careful because I don't have a lot of extra diameter on this rod. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's 980, which is actually too small. Alright, let's see what that does. Alright, we'll carry that on down. I am getting a consistent diameter, it's just covered in pock marks. This is the largest piece of stock I've got this long. Keep doing this, and then I'm going to turn it around and do the exact same thing on the other end, and I'll be back. Alright, I got it cleaned up. Well, kind of cleaned up. Now I'm going to try to size this to take our bearing. Alright, I got some high-speed steel in here. I think it'll cut those small amounts off better than that carbide did. Alright. Yeah, I think that's a good fit. I'm getting ready to cut some threads. And I've got I got a groove cut here to the minor diameter, which is 0.820 for our, these are 7/8 14 threads. So we're going to do a scratch cut here and see what we get. Just a little bit in there. Let's see if these line up. Yep, we'll say 14 threads to the inch. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Alright, I got our shaft mounted in the vise, and it's this 3/16 bit is halfway on the shaft. I got the center finder, did both sides and split it in half. And I've got it at 0 depth right now, and we've got to go down to 110 thousandths for the keyway, and here we go. Alright, I'm just going to give it a light file, knock the burrs off. Yep, that feels pretty good.